Howdy! Welcome to 2026. It's January 1st. Figured this morning would be a good chance to do my total costs on starting ourselves a cattle herd. So, total, I'll start right off the get go. We ended up keeping, how many cows did we keep? We've got ourselves everything minus 2 here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we got 8 cows that we've kept. They were cow steers that we've kept. And we've spent $16,705.93 in total. That's including feed. That's it. So a large key to what we do on this farm is we only buy cows that we can afford. A large portion of that is you see something that pops up underneath what you think market value is, scoop it up. All right. One of these good examples here was my aunt was getting out of cattle, and so she had 3 of them left. There was one she had some attachment to. She knew that I was getting into cattle, and so what she did was she asked if I wanted it. So we went, we picked her up. And so she didn't actually charge me anything for the cow itself, but I tallied up all the costs, rounded it up on what it was worth to go and get her. So I ended up picking up a Red Angus, gigantic. She's absolutely massive. Like, I've never seen a cow this big. It was 3 cows on 160 acres during a really good grass year. Like, we were walking through and the grass was dragging their tummies. Everyone was obese. It was hilarious. We spent $900 in total to pick this cow up. So I did my total costs, right? And I broke it down: cattle, feed, services, fuel. I don't put my dollar value in terms of wages in there. In order to make wages, you have to have some kind of profit on it, and we're not making profit yet. That, and then a couple of some of these animals we eat. So if I was to do that, all of a sudden that eats into the margins. And it's one of those things, I look at it more like a lottery ticket. It's like a hobby I enjoy, and whatever money I make is whatever money I make. And I look at it almost like a salary then, because that goes into the next year to pay for everything. So your total cost, like whatever you get back, right? I have a job that pays a dollarly wage, and that makes more sense than trying to figure this out into a dollarly wage when you don't have any money to pay yourself. So, anyways, the way this broke down, cattle. So I spent $11,863 in cows. Now, we recently bought a bottle calf, and that one was where my odd numbers come in. I spent $263 on him because when I pulled the money out of the ATM, I couldn't get it in tens, so he was actually supposed to be $250. I had to pull out an extra 10 because only 20s, and then the ATM charged $3. And that was the first time I've ever done it. It was a spur of the moment thing. Saw this bottle calf come up for $250, picked him up because I can pick up a bag of milk replacer, and that's part of my feed costs for $88.80. It is what it is. Like, so his total cost to get him to the point where I could wean him isn't going to be what he's worth weaned. So I did 100% of my costs, and things are still current. Things are still moving. So this is literally just, as of January 1st, this is what I've spent. So I've got, as I said, cattle. In terms of cattle spent, I've got 10 cows on there, and I spent $11,863. That's pretty good. My feed costs, I've got those up as high as $3,165.80. Now, keep in mind, we started in the spring. We started off 1, then we got another 2, and then we got, right, and we built the herd up from there. So it's not like this was our feed cost to feed 10 animals. This was our feed cost to feed 1, and then 3, then 4, then, right, and built it up to this point. As it sits right now, my feed costs, I mean, the hay that the newest bottle calf is eating, he's up with the sheep. And he's eating a very small marginal amount. So I've got 4 sheep up there I'm feeding. I narrowed down my herd. I sold some. I didn't make anything on them, but I don't have to feed them. So money not spent. So he's up there eating with some sheep. So it's kind of hard to dial him in when he's mostly eating milk replacer. But at some point he's gonna really put attention how often I'm feeding hay up there. And then I can start keeping track of that more accurately. My fuel costs are a little fudgy because we live far enough out of town that every time we leave, we have to do more than one thing. If I was going out and all I was doing was just picking up one cow, okay, 100% of that fuel cost goes onto that. But that's not the way it works. I go and sell some sheep, and then take a 10-minute drive to go pick up another cow, bring it home. So now my fuel cost is between dropping off the sheep, picking up the cow. So it becomes a little fudgy, but that's exactly the way it needs to run. So you break down your fuel cost between the tasks that are being accomplished. So things like hay, I purchased 31 bales. Now there's supposed to be another 3 on here, but I haven't gone to pick them up, and it's one of those things that was a trade deal. I traded a quart of firewood for 3 bales, and I don't have them here, so it doesn't fall into 2025 yet because it's not here, and it's 2026 now. So it's not a big difference. That would be a difference of $60 on 3 bales. That's the actual cost. Fuel in the saw, fuel in the truck. I mean, and that's rounding up. I mean, it's not even like I'm going that far. It's not even an hour away. So so our nearest town is 45 minutes, and that's just the way it is. Given I wouldn't have it any. Well, I would love it if our road was more maintained. Then it wouldn't be so bad. So things like that kind of make things a little fudgy, but it is what it is. So my fuel costs, I have that down between doing the baling, because I only got 1 cutting on, and it didn't take me that long in the tractor to do the cutting, to do the raking, and then to do the baling. I only did 8 bales in total. And the tractor it's a pretty fuel efficient tractor considering what it is. So things like tractor, the fuel to go pick up cows, the fuel to pick up feeds, we're into this thing for $4.95 in fuel. Now, even them out by $200, that would be this is what I mean. Like, so it gets fudgy, and the truck's not exactly bad on fuel. Like, I've driven myself a 7.3 Power Stroke with a 6-speed on it, and I've tuned it so she does her job pretty efficiently, like pretty damn efficiently. It's funny because it's almost as good on fuel as our newer minivan is. My last minivan, I had a 2001, I think, Ford Windstar, and they were identical on fuel. The only difference was diesel was a touch more expensive.
I think the Windstar was more expensive.
You think the Windstar was worse on fuel than the truck was?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it felt like it was the same because diesel's more expensive than gas.
Maybe.
Then I got my services on here. And so services, I've only got 2 things on here. The butcher on the 1 steer we produced, and then the bull services. So services in total was $1,182.13. So I'm not too crazy. It's not bad at all. Like I said, 31 bales. I spent $2,205 on 31 bales. I shop around. I pick up what's inexpensive. The last 6 I bought were $40 each, and we're talking big rounds. I've got a friend who does some big squares. He just lives further away, so it doesn't make sense to make the trip for it unless I can weasel it in 2 things at the same time. And even then, like, I go out to the same city he is every Sunday, but it's late in the evening, so it ends up being it doesn't really make that much sense unless it's summertime. If it's summertime and I can pick up old stock and he gives me a better deal on it, then it makes sense because I can take the truck out and it's still daylight when I get there. But right now it doesn't. So. Hey, $2,205. My grain, so I've got 2 1,000-pound bags of grain, and I've got a couple small bags of the beef starter for the bottle calves. I lost one of the bottle calves, so my total on cattle spent is I'm out by a little bit on it because the milk replacer I put into him, the initial investment on that calf. And I'm not 100% sure why he passed on. It was coincidentally, I took one of the bottle calves that we purchased. We were growing up near the house, and I had to halter trained her, and I walked her down to the other cows. She was big enough that she needed more space. So I walked her down to the other cows. Next day, this one bottle calf passed on, and I'm not 100% sure why. He was already weaned, but there was a couple of things going on that I was a little curious about. And if it was going to go on much longer, I was going to actually contact the vet, and then it just all happened at once, so it never worked out. I went to Bandom at 9 weeks, and still, his bag was still on there, but I noticed it looked kind of weird, almost moldy, and I was like, oh man, I hope that's not poison or nothing like that. And the weird thing is, I noticed one time he had stumbled, and I was like, oh, well, there's rocks and shit like that, and he was trying to go uphill, and it's the first time being in snow. So that's kind of why I attributed that too. Anyways, so we lost 1 calf, and the investment into him. That's okay, though. What do you need, love?
I think you were just banging your pencil.
I know, I'm fidgeting. I hope that's not annoying for anyone who watches this. Here, we'll do this. How's that for a fidget? So things like that happen, but we did good enough on our total cost on our cows because I also did a cow investment retained total, and then a cow heifer retained total, and then the real value on the cows and heifers, and then the retained value with cows, heifers, and the steers for next year. Now, the steers for next year aren't permanent. They're going to end up going either om nom or getting sold. So that's why I did two different totals, is because one is the actual value being retained, and then the other thing too is the value I did this at wasn't based off auction prices. The value I based off of was off of buy and sell ads, either between Facebook and the local marketplaces, Kijiji, right? Castnet's another one. Castnet might narrow down where I live. Don't dig deep into it. So like I said, so our total cost on starting again this year, because last year we did our beefs and we didn't have anything over the winter and we started fresh. So there's a couple of things on here that were like the actual investment we spent on things like our Highland. We spent $1,500, but we paid $200 to keep it there until the spring. So I put the total cost on that was $1,700, and there's no taxes on that because it's just person to person. And if you're the CRA, don't be rude.
What?
And then there was a couple other ones on here. So we did the 2 Texas Longhorns as a package deal. I covered the cost on the hay on that. It didn't come out of the cost on the one, and so that's actually part of it as well. Is the cow heifer cost retained, investment retained, minus $1,000 because that was someone else's. But that's I did it as a herd, and then I minus that one as well. So that $200 to keep those 2 heifers there, I put onto the one, so the one was $1,200. So in terms of cow investment, we had 11,863, right? And that's including the steer, including the one that's in the freezer, and the one we lost. So what we have going into next year in terms of cow investment that's being retained, the spent is 9,663. That's what's going into next year. Easy enough. Okay, now the cow heifer is 7,800. Right, so that's long term. That's what we invested into those animals, and that's what gets carried on year to year to year. Minus 1,000, 6,800. Right, so 6,800 is what mine is. That's what I've got out there. 100. So it's not a huge difference. And then so our real values. So I just went off what these animals are worth currently. We're not even looking at what they're worth mature. We're not looking at bred. We're not looking at cow calves. We're just looking. And the other thing too is these guys should be bred right now. So it kind of skews that a little bit. But I'm not looking to sell them. So I'm looking, okay, if they weren't bred, what would be the value of just the animal? So I've got these guys out at 28, 25, 3,500, 2,500, and 2,000, right? So 2,800 each for the Texas Longhorns. Why? Because they're almost mature. And that seems to be the going rate on 2-year-old Texas Longhorns. 2,500 for a 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old Highland. 3,500 on a not old, not young Red Angus cow, and that's probably under. These are just like if I was going to post these guys up for sale on the marketplaces, this is what I was going to sell them for. 2,500. What was the other one? 2,500 was that was on that yearling Hereford heifer, and then 2,000 would be the mini Hereford that I've got sitting out there. She's mini. She's not going to have too much value. Even if she was 3 years old, she wouldn't have much value. I don't think she'd be much more than $2,000. Bouncy castle? That's a good idea. So the total on that was $16,100 is what I think I've got in actual value if I was going to look at selling these animals on just the market. I'd probably be higher than that on all these if they were to hit the sale barn because prices are ridiculous. But it is what it is. And then so I did also the value on the steers that we're carrying on, which is only 2. So the one steer is probably worth $2,000. The other steer, because he's still a bottle calf, is probably only worth $600. Once he's weaned, he'd probably be worth more. But we're saying as of January 1st, this is costs. This is dollars. So then that makes my total carryover carryover value at $18,700, which puts me ahead by that'd be $195. No, 194 and 7 cents. I just did that in my head. It's good. It helps when I've got the sheet in front of me. So, yeah, that's where we're at. I mean, there's certain things here that we can play around with the numbers on. So things like when we do our steers out, each steer we do their total investment. And actually, I've got a page here I can walk through this. He's the only steer I have to completion, and I can actually walk you guys through that cost. So, that cost on that steer. So, at the time of his harvest, I did a hay per head, and at the time there was only 23 bales purchased. And then minus the 2 bales that were purchased by the fella that owns that one Texas Longhorn, right? So, hay cost per head at the time was $423.75. Okay. So I attributed 1 whole 1,000-pound bag of rolled barley was attributed to him. Why? Because if he wasn't there, I probably wouldn't have bought it, or I would have fed less. But if I fudge the numbers a little bit, so that cost gets carried on to him, and then everyone else benefits from it, it works. And just as long as my numbers don't end up crazy, it works. So 1 bag at $312 flat, which is kind of funny how it works out like that. After taxes, it ended up being exactly $312. The initial purchase at $1,800. So the butcher cost was $622.13. The on-farm kill, quarter, and skin was $210. So my total cost on this animal was $3,367.88 at 395 pounds. So my total dollar value per pound on the hook was $8.53. It's not great. There's still a margin we made there. At the time of harvest, I did an average cost on everything that was on the local marketplace at $9.87. And the worst part was right after that, a bunch of ads came out at $11 and $12, which would have skewed it to more than $10 per pound. But at the time, average was $9.87. So I had a small margin of profit if I decided I could sell it, which made me feel good. The fact that I can produce it for less than what the average cost was. The other thing too is like if I went and I go further away, there was an ad I'd seen for $7.50, and that was 12 hours away, 12 hours worth of driving. And I was like, okay, well, but I didn't attribute that. I just went basically 4 hours drive in either direction. What's the average? Just that way, then I got an idea of our local cost. If I go down to Lower Mainland, it might be more. If I go further north, it might be less, right? I don't know how it works because you would think they'd have a shorter season, but maybe the land's more expensive, so people can produce more of their hay for less money, keep their costs down. That's just a thought, though. So we had a small profit margin there, and that's the way that worked. Well, if we were to sell it, but we didn't sell it. Yeah. So that's the only steer we produced this year. I mean, our investments on steers, we've got another Texas Longhorn steer. We paid $200 less for him. We're not at the point yet where we're breaking down his costs. I haven't bought in a bag of grain yet. I probably will, but because I've got 2 animals that will be attributed to that, I don't know how I'm going to work that yet. And I've got calves coming, so it's one of those things too. I might want to add that to them. Depends on what the dollar values look like when I break down the hay cost per head. So, and that's the other thing too. So I've got my hay costs, and I've got notes next to when I bought bales. That's my breeding season paper. My hay log. So on my hay log, so I've got until 2026 calving. That's what I've got there. So all the hay costs up until the 2026 calving. That's going to be how that breaks down. So I've got one here, and I've got a note for when I bought the calf, or the mini Hereford, and this upcoming steer. So this hay cost before that point gets broken down between those cows and heifers, and then the hay cost after that gets broken down between the same cows and heifers as well as the new animals. So what I can do here as well is, so once that steer up there, the sheep is weaned, and he goes down eating with them, I'll I'll try and take a tally of what I think the difference was between just the sheep and him eating, and I'll attribute that to him as well. And I'll put a note next to him on his sheet, and so he's got his own sheet in here. So each one of my steers has its own sheet. And so I'll put in that total, right? So we got this jersey here, which was complete loss, but it was only a loss of $580. Still sucks. So there was a bag of colostrum in there, which we still have. So I attributed 100% of that cost to him. The bag of milk replacer, and then the $400 purchase price on him. Yeah. So that's, I mean, like, here's the one. That's one of them. I don't have any feed cost and it contributed to him yet because we haven't got to that point. And then this is the current one. The other one that's up by the sheep, there's not much on him either. So that's the idea. So it's not exactly a cheap endeavor. It definitely helps when you've got a partner in crime doing it. Because we were able to split a lot of the costs on these things and make it do. And it also makes it a lot easier too, like having the kids and all that jazz, like being able to be home and do these things, and you don't have to dedicate 100% of your time to it. You do have to dedicate time to it though. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. During the winter, it's a lot of work, but making sure that, like, I go, instead of doing water every 4 or 5 days, I gotta go and I do water every other day. And it is what it is. Yeah. So that be that. So it's like I said, our total investment $16,705.93. And we got more to spend. It'll be interesting to see. Oh, I should actually walk through my breakdown too as well on what my current calving costs look like they're going to be. So the idea there is you take your hay cost, divvy it up between each, and this is probably going to be the way it works. It'll probably actually divvy up around the same time that the steers go out to process. Either we might sell the jersey and eat Tito, which is the Texas Longhorn. So that way then we just don't have them anymore. They're just gone. Our feed inputs come down. But they're also going to come up because we just calved. Everyone's going to need to eat more food. So it's going to be one of those things of balancing act. We get something out of the field to make up the difference in what we need to feed, just to keep it at a point where we can afford to do it. Because if it's one of those things that things just keep on going up and they never come back down, then it's hard. You can't do it, right? So the other side too is, like, I'm not 100% how the upcoming year looks. We might end up keeping one of the calves and eating them at a year. I'm not sure, and that's the other thing too. Like I like the younger animals. They are so much more tender. And my other half here, she likes the leaner meats. We don't need to have a ton of intermuscular fat. So, but who knows? Maybe the idea is we sell all of our Angus crosses for a higher value than what we buy the Texas Longhorns for, and we just keep on eating Texas Longhorns if we decide we like it. Or we just keep on doing what we're doing and we look for lower value animals and sell our stuff at the higher value because it's got more commercial cross in it. It's one of those things, play it by ear. I mean, on one side it makes some sense, but I don't know if the difference is going to make sense. If our cost to produce is less than what it costs to buy another one, then we're ahead by keeping it, right? So that's where we're at with that. And then the other side too is the yield should be higher going with commercial crosses. So that's another thing that brings the cost per pound down. If it costs you the same amount to feed to feed a larger animal, but it actually costs you less to produce it as well, then it's a double whammy where you bring costs down and you yield more. So the way that breaks down, yeah, I mean, and if we end up with an extra bag of grain in there that isn't going to be attributed to one of the steers, then it gets divvied up between all the cows and heifers that look like they should calf. I mean, what is my calving dates look like? Who should be calving? I think I've only got 4 on the list to calf. Teeter, Miss Moo, Lucy, TC. Okay, yeah. So I got 4 that were definitely in with the bull. I'm pretty sure they got caught. I'm not doing the vet check. As soon as I have to bring a vet out here, like the call out dollar value was $120, and that really eats into it. Right, that's $100 for him to show up in the driveway and turn around, not even start trying to administer anything. Other than the fact that I don't have a very nice squeeze, I just have a little head, like a head gate kind of idea. So we've got 4. There's a potential of a 5 in there. I brought her in. She wasn't supposed to be of breeding age yet, but things didn't make sense when I bought her, and then I was being impulsive. So I brought her in. She might have gotten bred. She might already be bred. It's one of those things. I'm not sure. She might. I'm sure she's probably got a calf in her. It's just whether or not it's going to be a mini Hereford or whether or not it's going to be a mini Hereford cross Angus. And that's a little scary, but it is what it is. We will cross the bridge when we get there. That's that old Jurassic Park saying, nature finds a way. And this is what I mean. So when we actually see our calves at the ground, because if someone here misses, I mean, I'm probably going to try and figure out a cleanup bull for spring. So then at the very least I have probably early summer, so within next spring I end up with calves at the very least. So if I bring in a cleanup bull, that'll catch anything, and then I only miss 6 months, right? And that's kind of the idea on these first-time heifers and these cows. The one cow, she hadn't had a calf in at least a year, so... And then she was super obese when she came here. I've been working on her. She's doing really good. She looks fabulous now. Her tummy doesn't drag the ground. So... Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, so there's more costs to be divvied up, but the idea is, and I just laid it out. And then things like what costs need to be paid back by the sale of calves. Well, as long as I've got the cows, that dollar value of $7,800 never has to get paid back because the value is still standing out there in the field, right? At any point, if I decide I want to sell them, I'm going to get that value back. So when I sell my calves, I don't have to break down the $7,800 between all the calves produced because the animal still exists. I'm not trying to make my herd for free. It's like if you buy a stock, you have the stock until you sell it, right? It's like you get what I mean. So as long as it's an investment in having the thing, and then I still have the thing, and it doesn't start depreciating in value until it goes past a certain point, and then it still has value as beef. So it's in one hand out the other, right? So even if I've got it, like this Red Angus is a good example. She's not young, she's not old. So I bought her, I think she's 6 or 7. So next year she'll be 7 or 8. So I'm going to try and calve her out for 2 years. I'm going to try. If she's still holding up in good health, and I'll just keep on going until it doesn't look like her health is good, and then we'll probably put her into the freezer, right? So then that dollar value of what I got invested into her is retained in the beef value we're going to take back, right? It is. That's exactly what it is. And 100% of the feed cost, none of it goes into maintaining that cow. 100% of the feed cost on that animal goes into the production of the calf. Why? Because that's her job. That's what she's doing. And I don't want to incur any other costs on these animals. Otherwise, I can never make it back. The only time it gets foggy is if I can't cover the cost of the calf in 100% of the feed cost. And the way the dollar values look right now, I've got a sheet here where I was comparing dollar values with like current auction costs, trying to figure out whether or not I should do more minis or if I should do more Texas Longhorns. And I think I'm just going to diversify. I'm going to go between the two because there's benefits to both. The minis, in terms of beef, cost a little bit less to produce if I cross commercial. The Texas Longhorns, I have easier sales. I can take them to the sale barn and make money on them. And I can get close to top dollar for them. I can at least make average on those. I'm not going to see the highs, but that's not what I did any calculations on. So where am I looking here? So that's feed costs. That's also feed costs. That's weight calculations. What do we got going on here? Okay, so this is dollars and cents. And I actually lost my train of thought. Oh, that was the train of thought. So, the Texas Longhorns at wean, at what day was this? Did I put it on here? December 16th Kamloops auction. So December 16th at the Kamloops auction, I have my weights written down on steers. At the lowest weight, 0 to 300, was $6.69.5. But that's not where we're at. If I go based off calculation, so at wean at 6 months, I should have a Texas Longhorn Cross sitting at 390 pounds, give or take. If I go, and this is all based off of inputs that I find on forums, off of Facebook, off of Google, or even off of AI is even a consideration as well. Trying to get an idea of what daily weight gains are, what these things are. And the funny part is all my math ended up lining up with each other, so it was good. So if I go off an average wean weight of 390, at 6 months, if I was to sell them, I don't want to hold on to them anymore. I want to get rid of a bunch of these things, and I want to start just feeding for the next year. My dollar value at the time would have been $2,995.20. So that's a pretty big gap to cover. I think the way that ended up working, I was looking at a profit of around projected profit. That's not actual profit. I've got no idea what actual profit is. It's one of those things like if something goes awry, it's going to change the numbers. If all of a sudden hay costs go through the roof, it's going to change the numbers. If I produce more hay myself, then it's going to bring costs down. So projected on the current path I'm on, following up into the upcoming year, all the way up until calving, if calving goes and everyone has a calf, potential profit on that should have been around $980 to $1,120. So that's good. If I can make $1,000 at 6 months, so I just produce the calf and then I bring the profit in. And so that's profit above what I've invested. So, and I actually don't have the number on here to what my production is. That's probably going to be on a different sheet. So, which one was this? Mini Hereford commercial. Okay, so this is my weights. And I even did weights out to 24 months just to try and make the comparative. So this one here, where was I going with this? So we're looking at what was my 6 month, 6 month weight, 390. So we were looking at, where was that math here? Well, you get the point anyways. There's a decent profit margin here. Oh, this might be the math here. Oh, I gotta do more math in order to write that down because I did it based off stocking rates as well. I did stocking rates at 30 acres, and so I did a bunch of math on that. Anyways, I divert. I spent probably an extra 10 minutes after the fact of what I was talking about originally here. But the idea is buying the cows you can afford. Feeding them with what you can afford. And, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to find $40 bales and be able to feed 80 cows on $40 bales. I could never do what I'm doing on a commercial scale, and that's not what I want to do. I mean, because it doesn't scale up 1-to-1. What I'm doing here, I got to find where the cap is on that, and I got to scale it back from there, because I don't even want to go to the point where I have to sell at auction. I'd like to do what I was doing with selling on the local marketplace. But yeah. So if you're looking at the idea of potentially getting into cows, it's going to be completely dependent on your area as well. If you go and you look and if you go on your Facebook marketplace and you cannot find a hay bale for less than $100, your hay costs are going to be significantly higher than mine. If you go on to your hobby farming groups, your local cattle groups, and you don't see any posts, or you go on to whatever your Craigslist, your Kijiji, whatever else you might have for your local buy and sells online, and you can't occasionally find calves or weaned calves or yearlings for under market value, then your numbers aren't going to come out to the same as mine. Because that's what my key is, and that's why I can have $18,700 worth of cows in the field, but I only spent $16,705.93 in total, and that includes the animal I ate. Right, so if I sat here and I deducted that, right, so in terms of what my cost is, I should deduct that, but the point of the video was to say this is how much money I had to put into this year to have a small cow herd as of January 1st. I mean, now I'm curious though to see what that dollar value would be if I deducted what the steer was worth. The steer was $3,300, so that's gonna be $13,400 roughly. And we're gonna be a little less than that because it's 705 here, and it was 1330 or 1330, I think, which is gonna be a higher number. So we're gonna be even lower than that. So, like I said, that's the way the numbers worked out. I mean, and it's like I said, even if I fudge numbers on things like, so my fuel is the only thing that gets really fudgy, and it's like I said before, it's because I don't just do one thing. And now all of a sudden I have to break up my fuel costs between the tasks that are being accomplished. And if I go out and I run the truck and I go 5 or 6 different things and it only costs me $40 worth of fuel, and let's say I did 5 things, it's $8 per thing. And now it's like, so now that goes onto the list. And so that's part of what I did here was like I just went through and I went, okay, those two actually I brought them in together. We also went to the feed store in Armstrong to grab veterinary supplies for the sheep at the same time. Okay, so divide that up. But that wasn't $40 worth of fuel. Right? So then I go and I just run these all backwards from there and tally all up at the end, and that was one of the fuel costs, right? And so it's and it's good. You should, every time you leave the house, you should definitely be doing as much as you can to break down your own costs, because otherwise the stuff costs too much. Like if every time I picked up each one of these cows, if it was, let's say it was $40 each cow, we'd be more than what my total was at the very end. Just in the cows and the hay. But because I don't just do one thing, break down per task. Anyways, hopefully this was helpful and insightful. Happy 2026, and I hope the year is good to you. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.